right, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. I'm here today with Isak and Stiaan from AICA Data, and today we're going to talk about the future of GS1 and UNSPSC classification. And not just the future specifically, but focusing on the classification with AI. I think we've all been familiar with the deluge of AI tools that we have been facing since the launch of ChatGPT only in 2022, so November 2022, not even 3 years ago. And since then, we've seen many different tools and solutions, different tools trying to embed the capabilities of AI. Very few have actually made it to, I would say, production value. And I hope we can show you something today that is new and refreshing and effective for your workflows as well. But before we do that, a quick round of introductions, and I'll start with myself. I'm Stephan. I'm the co-founder of PIMVendors.com. I've been working in e-commerce and product data for the past 10 years, mostly focusing on startups and scale-ups and on the user side of PIM, I'd say. But recently, with PIM vendors, focusing on getting that knowledge to others as well and helping them select the right product data tools independently. Different from other agencies, we do not do any implementation, so we can be and remain truly independent. There is just you and your requirements and the different tools and the features that they bring. And together with our customers, we try to create that data architecture, that process architecture that solves their problems now, but also readies them for the future. If you want to know more about that, you can find that on our website, and you can also ping me here on LinkedIn. But today, I don't want to do that just now. We want to focus in the coming minutes on onboarding with AI and classification with AI. As I said, I've seen many different tools and many different applications of AI, from the more funny and funky, creating all these deepfakes, or letting models dance, or reviving old pictures. Seen some product data applications, of course, with enriching product data, enriching descriptions, enriching product images through AI, mapping product images onto models for an automated AI photo shoot, but still very little production value, as I would call it. So it's mostly still tech demos. Some of them are really implemented well. And I think today we're going to see a tool that really brings that value in a production environment. And I hope today with Isak and Stiaan, we can show you something that is new and refreshing. We are all, I think, a bit bored and tired with the manual labor involved in product data, be that data cleansing or, in this case, classification. Maybe we see a future ahead of us where that, I would say, busy work is a thing of the past, and we can rely fully on AI without the human in the loop. Having said that, Isak, maybe could you do a quick introduction and take over?
Hi, good day. Yes, thank you very much, Stephan. I'm Isak, the CEO and one of the founders of AICA Data International.
All right. Stiaan? Oh.
Hey everyone.
Could you do a quick intro?
Yeah. Stiaan Marie, I'm the CTO of AICA Data International. I'm from a machine learning background and obviously enjoying our time with AI at the moment.
All right. I know you've prepared a presentation, Isak. Before we dive into that, maybe some quick housekeeping. So if you joined late, don't worry. We're recording this whole session and we'll be publishing it on our YouTube and on the AICA Data YouTube later as well. If you have any questions, though, for Isak or Stiaan or for me, drop them in the comment box and we'll weave those into the conversation or take those into account during the demo as well. Over to you, maybe, Isak. You have a presentation for us. Do you want to start with the presentation? Do you want to start with a general intro?
Yes, I think let me start. Just give me a second, Stephan. I'm just going to share my screen. Just tell me when you can see it.
Yes,
Can
at
you see it?
least. Yes, we see the full screen.
Okay, well, welcome everybody, and thank you very much. We very privileged to welcome you to the actual launch of the AICA Data Agentic AI classification tool. What I'm going to try to do is just give you a bit of an overview on AICA itself, what we do, then look at Agentic AI from a very high level, not going into deep technical discussion, just discussing some things about GPC and UNSPSC that you can understand the classification standards for those that don't. And then looking at sort of the pricing and the time comparison between the different systems. But the main thing is I want Stiaan, when he does his presentation, I want you to see how the tool works. And that's where the interesting thing comes in. And then last but not least, it'll come back to me and we will discuss our pricing on what we can offer into the market as well. And I'm sure you'll be very, very interested to see that. So just quickly, AICA is a product data intelligence platform. What do? We leverage artificial intelligence and machine learning to enhance the quality and consistency of product data. We automate tasks like data cleansing, enrichment, comparison, and helping businesses effectively manage large volumes of data across industries, manufacturing, retail, mining, etc., etc. What makes us different? Faster, more accurate, and more cost-effective because we are narrowly focused, a narrowly focused solution. What is the problem that we address? Really, every day a vast amount of product data is generated, but without proper maintenance and enrichment, which leads to inefficiencies in the supply chain management, procurement, marketing, and finance. And the easiest way to explain it is really take the old film camera versus a digital camera. The old film camera took time and there was, call it a scarcity, and it was more expensive. Nowadays, with digital cameras, the volume of information that you create is just so much more. So I think that's quite a nice analogy. Then the different services that we have. So at the bottom, we look at product data cleansing, product data enrichment, product data creation. And today, specifically, we're going to look at our AI API integration into ERPs, enterprise asset management, master data management, PIM systems. We support those systems. We are not one of those categories. As I said, we are product data intelligence platform. So we sit one level lower. And then over to, what is agentic AI classification? So agentic AI is a type of artificial intelligence that can act autonomously and make decisions and learn from interactions. So traditionally, no automation is the first graphic that you see. It migrated in the last few years to RPA, which is called robotic process automation, but there's some challenges, especially when you've got broken paths. The new side is really automation 2, and this is where AI agents come in and just makes it so much, I would say, better, the automation process. But we must realize that even in classification, you always need a human element, and that's why we've got a team of catalogers that on the last mile does the final checking. AI can do the vast majority. Look at it as doing heavy lifting, but you always need some human intervention to get that level of accuracy correct. Or this is just a graphical representation. So if you look at normal AI, that's on the left-hand side, sort of a linear flow. On the right-hand side gives you a graphical representation of how an AI agent work. I'm not going to go into deep discussions. I think this is a basic idea, or you get an idea of the difference in how it operates. But afterwards, if you want to ask Stiaan some more questions, he's a specialist. I'm sure he'll be able to give you more insight. And then just the AI agent architecture, to give you a bit of an idea. I'm not going to go into detail here, but it does give you a sort of an overview. So let's just look at product data classification or global product data classification and United Nations Standards Products Services Code, which is what the presentation is really about today. So the purpose and the scope for GPC is primarily designed for the use of global data synchronization network and focuses on product classification for the retail and consumer goods industries. UNSPSC covers a broader range of market segments, including raw products and semi-finished products and services. So they're slightly different, but quite interesting. Let me just show you graphically the difference between the ones. So they're both 4 segments, or they're 4 levels: your segment, family, class, and brick. And on the right-hand side, you can see an actual product example. It would be quite nice when Stiaan shows you now how that works in a minute. It looks very simple, but I think most organizations have the challenge that to actually categorize it takes a long time. And if you do not do it correctly, that's where challenges comes in. If we look at UNSPSC, again, very much the same, but except at the bottom, you see the difference is the commodity code, and it's more for industrial type of products, as we said earlier. The maintenance of GPC is done by, managed by GS1, developed through the Global Standards Management process, and UNSPSC is owned by the United Nations Development Program, and that's maintained by GS1 US or USA. The code set, the similarity between them, or the classification set, is a 16% one-on-one match between the two. And both systems are maintained separately with efforts to ensure interoperability through mapping tools. Now, interesting enough, in our API solution, that mapping tool is already built in. So you can run both systems or both classifications, and it basically gives you automatic map. Going over to industry applications, mandatory for retail on GPC, whereas UNSPSC is more commonly used for spend analytics, e-commerce catalogs, procurement process, and for various industries. And GPC is more granular in classification for retail consumer goods. And you'll see that now when Stiaan does the presentation. And less granular for UNSPSC in some areas. Interesting, we had an application the other day where raw commodities, iron ore and nuggets and those type of things were classified. And on that level, it's not necessarily that accurate due to the lack of definitions. I'm not going to go through all the different benefits. There's huge benefits for both. Some people like to use both systems, depending on the application. But what I do need to mention is that our platform provides the ability that you can have other classification systems on it as well, because the foundational large language model training has been done. So we have had some requests or questions regarding custom tariff codes, to do tariff code mapping and matching through those big manuals can sometimes be a bit of a challenge. There is obviously software that does that, but you can build it into our system or any other classification tool, whichever you require. And then before I just pop over or give it over to Stiaan, so a case study that we recently did is a customer wanted to classify 100,000 items. They calculated that they would use 2 catalogers that do the same, use the same set, and then one person that does the QA/QC, and it would working hours 8 hours per day. The total days to do that classification worked out to 520. That's their calculation. That same job we can do in 1 day. Now, with the Agentic AI, with the previous, if it was only AI itself that we used, it would have been 45 minutes. But with Agentic AI, because there's more processes run, we would say 1 day, and then 5 days for manual QA/QC. So you can see the big difference between manual classification and AI-powered classification. I think that for the time is my side. I want to hand you over back to Stiaan.
Thanks very much, Isak. Hi, everyone. So just quickly share here. All right, so let me know if you can see. Thanks, Stephan. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly step through some of the endpoints that we have for our classification. So like Isak described now, we have two main standards, UNSPSC and the GPC from GS1. So yeah, let's quickly start with our UNSPSC. This is just a local implementation that I'm running. So let's get some examples going. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to put in, I can put a list in of products, and I give the description here. I need the description for that. So I'm going to do it, and I specifically chose these two pen and ballpoint pens so you can show in a moment. We'll get a little bit later to what segments mean, but the main thing is I'm going to ask it to classify two products for me, pen and then ballpoint pen. Okay, so that's running in the background now. Okay, so this obviously, if you know Fast API, you know that you can get the call command from here. This you can just run in your terminal. Don't worry too much about our API key there. Anyway, so this is the result, success. So we got back for pen some details. This is what we sent in, pen. It gave it, and like Isak described, from the segment, which is the top of the hierarchy, all the way down to the commodity. So it gives you the key for that and the actual number, the UNSPSC key, official UNSPSC key, the number, and what that segment means. Tools and general machinery. The next level of that, hand tools. The next level is marking tools. And then it got marking pen. So this is that hierarchy going down all the way to your product. For ballpoint pen, we have a bit of a different hierarchy. Now you see office equipment and accessories at the top level. This is a segment. Segment, remember, the top level. We go down to family for office supplies, writing instruments, and then we actually have ballpoint pens. So you can see that these two are different. Now, this brings me to explaining the score. This is the confidence that the model has in taking your description and supplying the correct hierarchy to that. So you can see with ballpoint pen, even though I might have made a typo there, it's actually two words for ballpoint, and it's plural for pens. It says, I'm quite sure this is where it belongs. For pen, it's the score is not that great. 90 is still okay, and it's got a marking pen which could suffice, but it's not as specific. So this is why that score is important. And if you're, and if you can, if what we're trying to explain also here is, if your descriptions are more detailed, you will get better scores when classifying. So yeah, once you get you've classified your whole data set, it's obviously now you have a method of seeing where you need to pay attention to first. So you can sort according to your score and just sort out the lowest scores easiest or first. Okay, so that was the first demo, just to show what how it looks when it comes back and what's going on with the score. So something we can also do is, if you specifically, my company only does office equipment. So that means I'm not too keen on tools and general machinery. So I only want to narrow it down to have all my products classified according to office equipment. So remember, segment is the top level there. So what you can do there, so we have an endpoint for that. If you're not sure what all these endpoints mean, let's quickly run that. So here you can see, this is official UNSPSC, live, plant, and animal. And if I scroll down, I think somewhere here, that is office equipment and accessories and supplies. So I only want to narrow down all the classification. I want to filter just on those. So we can do that. We can filter on a list or on an individual one. So I'm going to filter just on office supplies. Okay, so now you can see the hierarchy is for both of them office supplies. We forced it now in that direction. The score is still 90 because ballpoint pens is closer to what we put in, but it got it as a pen or pencil set. Anyway, okay, so that explained our segments, how you filter on segments. So what I want to do next is just do a little bit other products. Like Isak explained to us, the strength of UNSPSC is with these types of MRO products. So let's run something. I'm not going to filter them. So let's run this hydraulic motors. These are quite technical products. So if this is how your catalog, product catalog looks, this UNSPSC is for you. Okay, so I'm going to run that and let's see what it brings back. Okay, so there's our curl call that you can do in the command line or however you want to implement this. And here we have it, success. Okay, 95 for our first description. And the top level, power generation, distribution, machinery and accessories, and the bottom level, the commodity, that the bottom of the hierarchy, hydraulic motors. That sounds right. Okay. Same with bearing bushing, 95 score, that sounds right. Blade, slotted saw blades, that sounds about right. So that's it for our UNSPSC. Lastly, just want to quickly show.
Stiaan, can I just quickly intervene there?
Yeah, for sure.
So, just for interest's sake, the reason why that score is 90% and not necessarily a higher score is because there might be another category within UNSPSC that specific description can
Yeah.
match as well. So it only gives you a 100% match. But again, the quality score there is good enough, but it does allow you the opportunity and that's why I said we do the heavy lifting. You would, first of all, when you've done your classification, the ones with lower scores, you would say, I need some manual intervention here. And that's when you get catalogers in to do the job, just as an explanation.
Exactly, 100% Isak. Okay, so the next one that I want to show is our GPC. So we have the same thing where we can also filter with segments, and just so you can see what all the segments are, we bring them back: arts, craft, needlework, all the rest. So that's the filtering. I'm not going to do the filtering for this, but I just want to run one example. What I did, just went here to Sainsbury's, copied some product names. Let's see how it does. Okay, there's our Caesar classic. So that's dog food, hot cross buns, and then dishwasher tablets. I'm going to run those three through a GPC. So like Isak said, this is more geared towards your retail kind of products, not necessarily the MRO catalogs. Again, our call command, right, success. Okay, 90 is a good score. So it got it that it's pet care, pet food, and it's of mixed meat, mixed in loaf, and that sounds fairly accurate. I'd say that's a good match. So hot cross buns, 85 score. That's a little bit lower. Okay, so it matched it as a type of bread for our second. So again with GPC, segment is the highest level, and the hierarchy goes down. For the hierarchy or the attribute value title, which is just above the product, we got scone. So not hot cross bun, but that's the best match that it could find in the catalog. But it gave it 85, so that's something that you might want to have a look at. What are we doing here? Some dishwashing tablets. Automatic dishwasher, detergent, yep, that sounds right. Tablet combination, great, 95. That sounds great. Okay, so that is the demo from my side. I'm happy to take some questions or however we continue.
Yeah, I have a question, Stiaan. It's good that you mentioned how the quality scores or the confidence scores work.
Yeah.
What do you see in practice when working with sort of live databases? Like I understand some companies might only have the title of a product, right? And
Yeah.
might not have a full description. But if you have more data, I assume most companies have at least some more data than just the title. What is the average score you would get, the confidence score you would get in a production database of products?
Yeah, it's so how I'm going to answer that is I would start to pay attention to products that is even at 85. So so everything 85 and below, we don't see it so much. Like you said, once we have some good data, right? So you have a proper description, you might send in a very long detailed description that yields very good matches normally, and we would already something So like I said, 85 is already something that I'd look twice at, 85 and below.
Yeah, cool.
Stephan, but to answer that as well, the more data and the better the quality of your data, the higher the score.
Makes sense.
Ah,
Stiaan, I have a request from someone to test the product
let's do
live.
it.
I'm not
Let's
sure
do
if
it.
you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Let's see what pops out. Okay, I'm going to share again. Just give me a sec. Share screen. Yeah, entire screen. Share. Okay, so this is our product. Let's see what happens. Just give me a sec so I can pop it in my template here.
While Stiaan is dropping it into the template, so what we're showing you is what happens behind the scene. When you've got an API integration, that's live into your system, and that information would be provided by your ERP or your PIM or whatever system into our classification, and what you saw would be brought back, okay, into your ERP or your PIM or your MDM.
Yeah, yeah. So it's flexibly
All right.
integrated. You can just integrate it in whatever system you'd like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got a good match, I'd say. This is a yogurt drink, food, beverage, milk, yogurt substitute, yogurt perishable, if with probiotic claim. So these are with GPC some even more detailed fields, with sometimes it's unidentified or if the probiotic is there, it would say identified, but now it's unidentified. But it's got the Greek title of yogurt, and I'd say that's quite a good match.
So I also, sorry, Stiaan, I also want to,
To run. Isak?
apologies. So also what I want to say, remember GPC and UNSPSC gets updated. So if there is
Yeah,
something happening new, in this case, it might be that GPC is not updated on a higher level, that it can do that attribute value on probiotic. But within the next 6 months, it might be. And what we do, we update the classification systems within our models on a regular basis to ensure that it's updated. But if it gives you that result, it's because it's not in the classification system.
okay.
Yeah.
So any other products that we can do in the
Yeah.
meantime, or from the audience?
Yeah, I've asked that question. I think Jemima Holzer from Sainsbury's asked this specific question, and it's an interesting example. She says because it could be a yogurt or it could be a beverage, right? So it's
Yeah,
what is the classification
yeah,
that you give to it? Um,
yeah. It is an interesting one, and I think that's also difficult for a human to answer. Yeah, but it's
yeah,
a good
is it a
example.
yogurt? It's more a philosophical question almost. Is it a yogurt or is it a
Yeah,
drink?
or is it a drink?
I've got one here. Gonna paste it in in the chat for you, Stiaan.
Yep, absolutely. Electric
The electrical
Swift
medium voltage switchgear. It's a
gear.
request from.
Switchgear, yeah.
Is that switch
Yes.
gear? Should it be switch gear or
I assume so.
Switchgear,
Yeah.
yeah, switchgear, yeah.
Well, let's try both. Let's try with the
Let's
typo
try
and
both.
without.
Let's try
Yeah.
both. Absolutely. This one, I take it we should run it through UNSPSC.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you share your screen again, Stiaan?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just putting it in the template.
Yeah.
Just give me a second. There we go. That's the right one. Right. Okay, electric medium voltage, switch gear, and then we have switch gear. Let's see what pops up. So I took that exactly out of the chat, and I made switch gear there as well. All right, no filters here. Okay. Yeah, I think it's got both. Even the wrong spelling it got right. The switch gear, medium voltage. So medium voltage switch, medium voltage switch gear, but it actually got the right class there.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. Very nice. While others might have more requests, we have a question from Scott Garvey discussing the quality of data. So, would you consider a framework of product attribution for improved match accuracy, aligning with the further detail contained within the brick in the GPC? I'll type the question in the chat as well.
Yeah. So how it let's see connection with this. Do you consider framework of product attribution or improved match accuracy aligning with the further detail contained within the brick? Yeah, so it feels like the brick is a little bit of an extra. So I hope I'm understanding the question correctly. If we look at at brick here, we currently take in the description, so that's what we primarily use for the match. But what's on our roadmap is to take in more attributes as well. So not just the description to make that match, but whatever you have in your hierarchy. If you have your own look, if you're a retailer, you already have your own hierarchy, or any product dimension has some sort of hierarchy. If you send that in, that does increase the accuracy of that. So we've tested that. It's not currently in our deployed API, but we've tested sending in extra attributes, and that does increase the actual classification of it. So yeah, I hope that answers that.
And Stiaan, maybe just for interest's sake, so that's why it's so important to have this platform. What we've developed here is what is, how can I say, commonly used or with a requirement, but one would always find additional things that we haven't thought about. And that's why it's so important for us to have this platform. So please do ask questions, because that not only can result to solving your problems better, more cost effectively, but also enhance the product and help other people.
Yeah, it's. I mean, especially since it's so scalable, right? Yes, you can use the manual labor, the manual product classifier to do all this with all the same risks of classifying in a different session or in a different classification, or as a different brick, or as a different class. But with the AI, you can basically do the grunt work for 95% and have the QA do only the difficult ones.
Yeah.
We have another question from Jemima on the yogurt. So if you want to classify this not as a beverage but as a yogurt, or as a beverage and not as food, could you adapt a model to that requirement? So you have a specific rule in place or
Uh,
business rule in place.
this on the beverages and not as food. Let's try it. Let's try it. Let's see if we can find something. Yeah, just let's see if we can do it right now.
Right. Love this. That's why we do this live.
Yep. Yep. So what I take it, the question is something for beverages. Let's see if we have in here anything for beverages. Food. It does have food, beverage in one. Let's quickly have a look. Does it? Yeah. Okay. So it's yeah. What we can do. So I don't necessarily think it is fine tuning of the model necessarily. I think that's a very specific use case. But what we can do is make a filtering in our API. Currently, the food and beverage sit in one. But if we take it to the next level and we have our family title also filterable, then we can select beverages from here. So that's a good suggestion. Yeah, yeah. It's what I was under the impression is that GPC might have a different segment for beverage. It doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good input. So the answer is yes, right? So we can
We can
classify
do
this
it. Yeah,
differently.
it's not necessarily fine tuning, but yes, we can.
Yeah. Reclassification.
Stiaan, can I just ask you maybe to just use that example chair in both UNSPSC and GPC?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and so it's quite interesting to see the variance there. And maybe you can, in GPC, have two categories, office and camping.
Yeah, so let's. So you first want to see it in UNSPSC, or do
Yeah,
you just want to stay in? Okay.
no, in UNSPSC,
Yep. Just like that.
yeah,
Is that right?
yeah. So it's not gonna give you 100% score because again, it doesn't say which application. But then this is where the mapping between the two systems come in as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
in
Exactly.
this case, just do two furniture and fittings here, but also camping. Just put in camping, which is sort of a completely different category.
Okay. Let's leave this one here so we can compare.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can have a look at UNSPSC and GPC, which is quite interesting. Remember, I mentioned earlier that one can map um, your
Yeah,
different products when you run it through the system.
absolutely. Okay, so we still have chair, and now for camping chair, the segment is already different, Isak. Sports
Yeah.
and recreation. That sounds right. So let's take this down to GPC. Okay. Let's see how they differ. Okay. So chair, household office, again, yeah, furniture and furnishings, the same thing. Now, the GPC's got its own camping
Yeah.
segment.
But look at the quality of the score. The one's 100% and the other
Yeah,
one's not.
yeah, 85.
Yeah.
So that's the nice thing. You know, our system provides the opportunity that you can classify on both systems.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And then you would, like in a real life example, have the 85 score be checked by a human to
yes.
check if this is actually a household office seating.
So, Stephan, what we also provide is a service on the items that has got a low score level.
Mhm.
Is a semantic search where we enrich the product data for you to be able to to ensure that your code goes up. But then you only do it on the products with a low quality score. So we do have a separate service. People send those items through to us, and we do a sort of a product data enrichment exercise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
When looking at we have another question from Scott. So he asked, have you used the model to match the GPC to an internal ERP taxonomy, or I would say any internal taxonomy, and then that internal taxonomy to a customer web hierarchy to create relationships? So basically map the onboarding and map the publishing.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a mapping that goes from your ERP to GPC. So the way that we did this exact mapping is through a product that we did the classification for. So it's not necessarily that we know that, because in different ERPs, obviously, you'll have nuances for product descriptions, and I'm more keen on actually classifying a product and understanding the mapping that way than to say that for everything in this brick or whatever is the map to your ERP. I think nuances get lost in that way. But if you have that key of the actual product being classified, that's a good mapping if you want to do that.
So, Stiaan, maybe just also to touch on that question. Remember, we had a request on from the Middle East where they wanted custom tariff codes matched to UNSPSC. So, I think if, and this would be more custom project, it wouldn't be sort of standard, is to have a full understanding of your ERP taxonomy and your web taxonomies itself, and then see if we can do matching. But again, the idea with this tool is sort of an automated process. We will provide separate service if you require that to do, and providing that it's ample amount of products. If that answers the question. Stephan, can I jump over to the pricing, because I think that's quite an
Yes.
exciting thing I want to share with and then we can go back to questions.
I think if people have questions, they can put them in the comments, and of course we can also connect after the call,
Absolutely.
after the webinar to answer those for sure.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
So let me just start that. Go to the next one. We have the demo. So this is where the exciting things come in. I mean, look at the pricing. Now, one credit equals one product classification. So this is the exciting stuff that I want to show you, is that the actual cost. So one credit equals one product. Now, traditionally, if I look at historic prices on manual classification in North America and in Europe, the cost was around about $3 per item if you do it manually. In other parts of the world, it went down to $40 and $15. And that was normally on very high volumes. You can see on ours, on the lowest volume is $10. And higher volumes of 500,000 products is $4. So, this big difference in pricing now makes it more accessible for more people to do classification. Because our understanding is a lot of organizations couldn't do classification because the manual input was just too expensive to do it. Even with other sort of standard database matching solutions, they couldn't do it, and the accuracy level wasn't high enough. You've seen the accuracy is good, but it also gives the human the ability to select the items that he's not happy with the quality. Now, another thing, seeing that we are launching, this is sort of an official launch, we are offering a special discount of 20% on these prices for organizations that within the 2 weeks want to buy credits, and that would be the credits would be between 3 and 6 months to expire. For people that do not want to API integrate, if you want the manual service, in other words, you just want to send us a file and say, "Hey, Stiaan and Isak, can you please classify this for us?" We can do that as well. So if you don't have enough items, we can assist. But I mean, look at the pricing. It surpasses any other pricing that we know of any solution in the market. And we're really happy that, now we can proudly say we're faster, more accurate, and more cost effective than any other solution in the market. And I think that brings me, us to more questions. You can obviously email info@AICA Data if you want to take up the special discounts. But I think this is also a time to just quickly say, are there any other questions? More open to discussions. Stephan, you also indicated that you might want to do sort of a panel discussion type of
Yes.
interview.
Yeah, I think if people have questions, they can put them in the comments, and I have a question waiting. I also want to mention that we will share the contact details of you, Isak, and of Stiaan as well. And obviously, people can find you both on LinkedIn. So it should be easy enough to ask those questions, even if you don't want to ask them here in the public chat. But we do have a question from Randy asking on how to advise the coding when you're merging two or more businesses through acquisition, especially when each of them has a different naming convention. So how would you do the merging of two or more
I'm happy,
companies?
Isak, you want to go ahead? I'm also happy to take this one.
Stiaan, go for it.
Yeah, so on the classification side, that's fine. That's specifically what the system is good at. Doesn't matter what your naming convention is, you need to find a class. What we've seen before with acquisitions is that some of the other services that Isak mentioned a little bit earlier, like getting attributes, getting a long and a short description, getting a proper naming convention, that is also something that we offer. It's not what we demo today, it's not part of this. But it is also something that we have done specifically for acquisitions before. But from what we demoed today, from that point of view, the naming convention is not as important. That's obviously why we use the AI Agentic solution. But we will have to extend that because the classification does not alter your product name, but we can do that as well.
And maybe I can just tie into that. So you also get more challenges when you go into multilingual. Now, we know that UNSPSC has got multilingual solutions. Are they all up to date to the version 26? Not necessarily on all languages. We are, however, from an AICA perspective, working with a very specialist language translation company that will partner with us, that we can work across different language groups. So if you want to do comparisons also between the different languages and ensure, and again, it's also AI, they specialized in their environment, and that's why we're partnering with them. But that's quite an exciting thing that would happen pretty soon as well.
Yeah, maybe since we don't have any questions here anymore, but I do have a question about the agentic part of this. So Stiaan, how is this using or leveraging the agentic AI in this case? Can you give more context on how you're applying the
Yeah,
agency
absolutely.
side or the agentic side?
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak on a high level about this. So obviously, what we've tried from the onset is some sort of RAG solution, but we found that it just never got those nuances correct. So we need some intelligence in the decision making on whether we are on the right path or not. So there are several nodes that need an intelligent agent in this whole process to give either a score or say yes or choose a class, or there are a magnitude of those kind of things. So getting to the specifics, we looked at several of the frameworks out there. Look, there are from Hugging Face, Small Agents, Crew AI, LangChain, LangGraph, all the rest we had looked. But in the end, we just decided for our production to build our own agent to manage the whole system. There were some things that we needed that doesn't come out the box, and to go and then tweak what we have out there would have been more difficult than just to build our own agentic framework for this. But yes, it is the difference between making a good call for a class for classifying a product and making an average call. That's what the agent brings, Stephan.
Yeah, cool. And you're saying you're using your own agentic framework. Are you using your own custom LLMs, and are these all API calls to Copilot? How does that work?
So they are different. That's one of the things. There are several types of models that we need to use, and several actual models. We have our own fine-tuned embedding models. We have different calls. The demo that I showed today does involve sending it to some of the foundational model companies. But we can, if your company requires that this needs to be deployed in its own contained box, we do have models for that as well. So yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we had to do our own framework, because it's so many different moving parts.
So, Stiaan, I just want to come in here, and this is something that comes up quite regularly, and say, what's the difference between us and sort of foundation models? Foundation models have an accuracy level of 30%. We've got above 80%, and the reason being it's trained on curated data. So that's where the difference, and because our vertical, we're very specialized in what we do, hence the accuracy level. If you just go to a Grok or a Chat GPT or something like that, your level of accuracy is not going to be the same.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think the developments of sort of 2.5 years ago, right? We started with ChatGPT 3.5, and you probably had already people like copy pasting these types of classification questions into ChatGPT. It's interesting to see that you actually need the whole agentic framework to get to the 80-85% level accuracy. It's, I mean, what we've all experienced, right? It's the reason why not everyone is doing this. Is the reason why we're having this demo right here, because it is special, it is unique. We're also coming up a bit on time. Maybe are there any closing thoughts you'd like to share, Isak, with the audience?
I think, this is just an overview. This is one of the things that we do. As I say, our specialization is really in product data cleansing, enrichment, creation, and comparisons. So have a look at our website. We do publish also a huge amount of technical information on our blog section and our webpage. Please go to our LinkedIn page and sort of link to AICA Data, because then you get the latest updates. We are a technology company. Things change really fast, and we keep up with it, and we try to keep our partners, which we have worldwide, plus customers up to date from an educational perspective, but then focusing on resolving and improving the ROI of the projects that they work on. So yes, that just in short, Stephan.
Yeah, great. No, those are good points. It is a continuous development. Maybe Stiaan, any closing thoughts or sneak peek of the future roadmap, maybe?
Yeah. So it just feels like agentic AI is the way. I mean, this is like I said, what we saw, the difference between being average and actually having something that adds a lot of value. So I'm excited as for the road ahead. Obviously, I'm having a lot of fun with all these things, and it's not. This is not something we. It took a long time to get to a level where we would say, okay, we're proud to put this into the market. That's the reason I don't have hair, because I pull them all out with all the wrong solutions. But now I still have a beard.
No, but it is okay. Good. That's great. Okay, so for everyone still with us, I mean, it's a Friday afternoon and we are live streaming API calls on a chat or on a webinar, and people are still with us right until the end. So thanks everyone for joining us. As mentioned already during Isak, it's a special introductory price. So please connect with him or Stiaan to take advantage of that. We will be sharing the recording with everyone if you want to revisit all those API calls over the weekend. And we will be sharing the contact details of both Isak and Stiaan with you as well. Having said that, I want to invite you all to our follow-up that we have on AI. Unfortunately, not with Isak and Stiaan, but with Hendrik and Morten later in March. And with that, I'd say I wish you all a very good weekend and see you all in the next session. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, Stephan. Thanks, everyone.